I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. Welcome to what my mom calls the greatest show on earth.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem, the people of Afghanistan, the same. Khalifa Al-Thani.
My daddy served in the army. We lost his right eye, but he flew a flag out in our yard. Till the day that he died, he wanted my mother, my brother, my sister and me to grow up and live happy in the land of the free.
Khalifa Al-Thani.
Now this nation that I love is falling under attack. A mighty sucker punch came flying in from somewhere in the back. Soon as we could see clearly through our big black eye.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem, the people of Afghanistan.
Man, we lit up your world like the 4th of July. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list. And the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be here. When you hear Mother Freedom start ringing her bell, and it'll feel like the whole wide world is raining down on you.
All right, what a way to start the program right now. Whose father hasn't said?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem, the people of Afghanistan, the same.
You know, I mean, that's just, if I had $1 for every time my dad said that to me. I remember one time last week, Dad called up and said,
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem,
Yeah.
the people of Afghanistan, the same.
yeah, I remember so distinctly because I remember thinking, what does it mean when my dad said,
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
yeah, I don't know. Why? Now, here's an image I want to paint for you today. Here's the image I'd like you to hold in your mind. Now, am I happy that an American is alive? Of course, everybody is. Here's the thing that I want you to hold in your mind. This image, if I can paint this correctly, maybe not another word on the subject needs to be said. Here's the image I'd like you to hold in your mind. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. If you're not driving, close your eyes. I want you to picture a stage. It's black and white. The film footage is a little bit grainy. FDR is on stage in his wheelchair. Astride him is the father of a soldier, an American soldier, being released by the Third Reich, being released by the Nazis, being released by Hitler. And in sympathy with the Nazi regime, in sympathy with the Nazi cause and the Third Reich, you have a father who has grown a Hitler-style mustachio, and he's standing there, and he clicks his heels together when he takes the microphone, and he says, "Ich stein der Führer!" and then begins his speech about how grateful he is for his father, or his son, to be released. I want you to just hold that image in your mind. What would your grandfather or grandmother have said? What would your great-grandfather or great-grandmother have said if that was the image portrayed by the father of the POW that was being exchanged for 5, not 1, 5 of the upper echelon of the Third Reich, of the Nazi movement?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem, the people of Afghanistan, the same.
I don't get it. I'm done. I'm out. That's it. If that image that I portrayed with the Nazi mustachioed father doesn't beg the question, where have we come in America? Let's ask this. You cut yourself with a knife. What's the first reaction you do in America today? What's the first reaction? You go, man, I shouldn't have done that. Or is the first reaction, I wonder how fast I can get my lawyer on the phone to sue the company? A noted figure in Alaska, a noted Alaskan, has sued a knife maker because he cut himself. I really was going to hold off on this. I really was, until I saw video, until I read 2 different accounts of this, and made my own mind up that America has changed. America's changed. We'll get into that. I want your opinion as well. In addition to Blackwater Bend Espresso Alaskan Mindbender, I want to give away today. We've been doing 1 lately. I'm going to give away 2 coffee cards today. 2. Count them. Not one, but 2 coffee cards to Blackwater Bend Espresso. I also want to talk about the new medical examiner for the state of Alaska. One question comes to mind. Are we running low on medical examiners? We can't find one without a record. I also want to ask you if you're unsettled by your borough mayor peeping Tom behavior on your private property. Are you unsettled by the lack of privacy in America, in Alaska, and in your backyard? And one more reason for you to stick around. If I was running for mayor, here's how I do it, by Chris Story. If I was running for Homer mayor, here's how I do it. All that and more coming up here on Alaska Matters Radio. I'm Chris Story, along with David Webb, who is engineering and producing this program. Back up at the mothership of KPEN. That's right, this is the home of all things possible and all things prosperous. Coming up on the program, we're going to be giving away 2 coffee cards to Blackwater Bend Espresso. I'll be telling you why Horizon Satellite and Horizon Wireless is the best technology and communications company possibly on the face of the earth. And if not, at least in your backyard, wherever you're listening to this. And if I was to run for Homer mayor, how would I do it? Here's how exactly I would do it, by Chris Story. That'll be coming up in a little bit. And I'm tired of your whining. I really am, honestly. The President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, has said that the new regulatory emission standards for coal-fired plants is necessarily going to increase your cost of power. So what? Honestly, stop whining about that. I mean, don't you realize this is happening on every level? And let me tell you this. If you're going to whine and complain, as I will and am, about that regulatory stranglehold that the president wants to put on the absolute best power we can offer ourselves right now, I'd like to ask you why you're not doing anything about local government that says things like this.
It's expensive to live in Homer. There's no doubt about it. You need to have a good job to make it here. And as much as I would love to say it's, we can make it cheaper, we can make it better, that's just not going to happen. Nope. It's an expensive place, and, you just have to live with it. I'm sorry, but that's the way that it is, and I'll shut up now before I put my foot in my mouth a second time.
Yeah, there you go. So here we have your local city council people here in Homer telling you that it's just tough it out, man. I mean, it's just...
We just don't have the money, and unless we can find the money someplace else, we just won't be doing that.
And that is so often police and fire. Isn't that just a shame? They always run to, we're going to take away your police protection and you're going to take away your fire protection. This is happening at a local level. And it's happening at a national level. So why are we surprised when we see the President of the United States coming out with statements like this? And then what do? We naturally say things like, that's just not right. I'm going to vote for Rand Paul. I'm going to vote for... No, stop it already. We need to bring I hate to quote somebody who's running for office right now, but I will. I'm going to quote Meade Treadwell, and I'm going to say, it's time to bring this home. Decision-making home, specifically, is what he says. I say it's time to bring baggage home. I say it's time to take home the responsibility and bring it right to the mirror that faces you and say, you, look in your mirror and say, you are responsible for the course of this country. You and no one else but you. Horizon Satellite, Horizon Wireless. Basically, here's the thing. There are 2 different companies under one roof. So you've got Leif Peterson, the brainchild that is behind Horizon Satellite and Horizon Wireless. Do you understand the power with which I've got one small microphone, a mixer board, a computer, and then a piece of technology called the Comrex box that communicates up to the mothership of KPEN. Were it not for the link in between those pieces of equipment and all of that technology, I'd be talking to myself, much to the delight of those that are in charge right now. But no, Horizon Satellite is like a giant pipeline between me and my studios here at Story Productions at the corner of West Hill and the Sterling Highway and the mothership all the way back high atop Diamond Ridge. I'm telling you, if you want the fastest speeds for your internet, you've got to call Horizon Satellite, Horizon Wireless, 226-3130 across from the college on Heath Street in Homer. I want to send you out to Blackwater Bend Espresso for free. I mean, how did you like that? And by the way, I noticed they're on Facebook now. So go to Facebook and like Blackwater Bend Espresso. That's ESPRESSO. Took me the longest time to learn to spell espresso. Always did it wrong for the longest time. Like them on Facebook, and when good won't do, get gourmet at Blackwater Bend Espresso. Treat yourself. Do this today. Treat yourself to a Bender blender. If you're listening from up the road and you travel to Homer often, stop in to Blackwater Bend Espresso. It's calling your name for a Bender blender. Truly, ice cream and coffee, it's the best drink you'll ever have. It's the best drink on earth, Blackwater Bend Espresso, not your average trip. Here's your question. Easy to play the game. Send me a text message to 299-7653. Oh, and thank you to Tiffany. I've got a brand new iPhone sitting here. Oh, I feel human again. 299-7653. Here's the question. Alaska, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, Washington, New Hampshire, Wyoming, and one other state have no income tax. No income tax. Is that other state Nevada, Tennessee, or Georgia? Here they are again. Alaska, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, Washington, New Hampshire, Wyoming, and one other state have no income tax. Is it Nevada, Tennessee, or Georgia? 299-7653. 299-7653. I was telling Dave Webb, I wanted him to be the first to hear my anti-campaign speech. And I think he liked it. And so I'll share it with you now. If I was to run for mayor of Homer, Alaska, I'm Christopher Story, by the way. You're listening to Alaska Matters Radio. Our website, alaskamattersradio.com, alaskamattersradio.com. If you'd like to talk to me at any time, you're welcome to send me an email, alaskamattersradio@gmail.com. alaskamattersradio@gmail.com. Text message during the program about anything on your mind, including entering to win the Blackwater Bend Espresso Alaskan Mindbender, 907-299-7653. 299-7653. People are entering to win now. You're welcome to join them. Again, text only, 299-7653. Okay, here's my campaign speech. If I were to run for mayor of Homer, Alaska, here's how I do it. This is my campaign speech in a one-sentence nutshell. You ready? Don't vote for me. Do not vote for me unless you're ready for something different. Do not vote for Chris Story for mayor of Homer, Alaska unless you're willing to say no more. Status quo will not do. Department heads will be held accountable. The city manager will be replaced, period. Period. And I put an exclamation after that, period. Strong mayor form of government is coming to Homer one way or another, if not through home rule, through Story's rule. Not going to play nice. If you screw up, you will answer for it. If you are a department head and you survey the wrong location for a trail and you spend $20,000 of those taxpayers, of my taxpayers, of your money, you're gone. You're going to be accountable for that. You will not, dare I say, you will not waste a nickel. You will understand that every dollar taken from the pocket of the people is to be spent sparingly and to be spent efficaciously and to be spent wisely. We will not balance the budget on the back of the employees. I repeat, we will not balance the budget on the back of the employees. We will not waste money with attorneys, $500,000 plus. We will not invite litigation. We will not tell people, oh, sue us. Give them the finger and say, sue us. We will not invite ridiculous litigation. We will not say to people that donate property to Homer 20 years ago or from 20 years from now, you know what? Never mind, we're not going to agree to our agreement. We're going to go waste money in court. We're not going to waste money on iPads. We're not going to waste money on books advertising Homer as open for business when, in fact, you and I both know we are not. We are not going to do all of that. We are not going to waste money. We're not going to pay our city manager $180,000 a year and then balance the budget on the back of the people that are doing the work or digging the ditches, are in the line of fire. It's protecting you. And say, we're going to take away your insurance because we can't afford it. Oh, spend $31,000 on a book? No problem. Spend $1,600 a month on electrifying 4 bathrooms that were gifts from the people? No problem. We don't mind spending $1,600 a month to put electricity into 4 public restrooms. I'm ashamed of it. If you vote for me, do not vote for me. Do not vote for me unless you're willing to change the status quo. I'm tired of it. I'm fed up, and I know you are too. The citizens will never again be told, sue us. Do not vote for me if you like to pay food tax. We're going to die if we don't collect our food tax. Do not vote for me if you don't understand that the government doesn't earn money, you do, and the government takes it. In fact, just don't vote for me. Let me live in peace. Don't vote for Chris Story, mayor of Homer, Alaska.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down.
I'm tired of it. I know you are too. I know it. What are we going to do? You know how many people have said to me recently, Chris, there's nothing I can do. What can I do? I had a conversation with a really great guy today, one of the best Americans on earth, possibly. And he said to me, Chris, it's overwhelming. What can you do?
Back down.
Hey, I got an article called, in fact, Don't Back Down, out of my NFIB magazine, all about business. Don't back down. The secrets of not backing down into winning in business are the secrets to winning in life. I'm Chris Story. More to come here on Alaska Matters Radio.
My ground, and I won't back down.
I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier, on fire here today at Alaska Matters Radio. Our website, alaskamattersradio.com. I've had it. I honestly don't care. I've gotten to that point where I'm just saying I don't care. I'm tired of the status quo. I'm tired of feeling as though you don't have any privacy. Let me get to that. Mayor Navarre, how dare you lurk over the skies of my home? How dare you lurk over the skies of private property owners and taxpayers, and you dare do it, my little friend, with our money. How dare you? Well, Chris, it came from federal dollars. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we getting those federal dollars? I forgot. We got a big bailout from Belarus last week. I forgot. We got Mexico sending money this way. I forgot Afghanistan, Iraq. I forgot about the Middle East, and I forgot Kandahar. I forgot about all the places that are sending America money. Yes, and we're using those foreign dollars to do things like spy on American citizens. Guess what? No, we're using our own money, and you allow it. You allow it. And you say, no problem. Give us some more, Mikey. We like it. It tastes good. I don't need privacy. I don't need to know that my children, my grandchildren, my niece, my wife, my mother, my grandmother can lay in their backyard and have privacy and not be snooped on by Snoop Dogg Mike Navarre up in the borough headquarters in Binkley, taking your money and using it against you. And don't tell me it isn't your money. Federal dollars are your dollars. The government doesn't earn money. They take it. They don't make it. They take it. And they take it from you. And if you take it any longer and you sit back and take this and you say nothing and you say, well, Michelle Hartline can go up to the borough assembly and testify against this and say that this is wrong and breaking of promises, but I've got a business to run. I don't want to be called that. I mean, that's not, I'm sure she can say, no, she's a hero. She's an American patriot. And so are a lot of other people. And guess what? You are too. And it's time for all of us to speak up. It's time for each and every one of us to say no, no more, no further, no más. No mas. We're not going to take this anymore, Mayor Navarre. You owe the community an apology. You owe the community $46,000. I don't care where you got them from, $46,000, and all of it spent to protect you. That's right, because somebody could come along later and say you built a doghouse after the law was in effect of garnering and taking your 50 feet of property. And, well, we can prove with the photographs that your doghouse pre-existed the taking that we oversaw last year with Ordinance 2013-18 affecting Code 21.18 of the KPB Code. Yeah, I've had it. I've had it. Give me another cup of Blackwater Bend Espresso right now. That's better. Why is it the coffee helps me calm down? That's odd. Well, it's Blackwater Bend Espresso. It can build you up or take you down, whichever you want. Blackwater Bend Espresso, not your average drip. Don't back down. Small business first. This is an article in My Business magazine brought to you by NFIB, National Federation of Independent Business People, by Dan Danner. I have no clue who Dan Danner is. He might be God's gift to all things small business, but never heard of him before. Let me tell you something. I Googled him, and I have reached out to his people, and I have said thank you, and God bless Dan Danner for his piece called Small Business First. And I'll read just a portion of it to you. It's called Don't Back Down. Sometimes it just feels like your own government is dedicated to making your life more difficult. And sometimes it's more than a feeling, it's the truth. It's hard to say how much of the anti-business activity in Washington, D.C., and I'll add, or in your city hall, or your capital, or the seat of authority wherever you are, is merely negligence as opposed to hostility. But if you've ever worried about whether you are being too sensitive or paranoid, I want to reassure you, says Dan Danner, that you and your instincts are right. I believe that we are experiencing an unprecedented moment of utter cluelessness and dysfunction in our nation's capital. There is good reason to be angry, and there's more than a little reason to be scared. The very last paragraph closes with this. As business owners, you're leaders in your community. It's critical that you encourage everyone in your community, young people in particular, to observe government and politics in a thoughtful way that considers the economic impact of public policy. Remind them to hold their elected officials accountable at the polls, and to further generations, your leadership and your unique understanding of what works for our economy might just make you a hero. That's beautiful, Dan Danner. Dan Danner, you're a beautiful man. That's beautiful. That is so well said. As a business owner, you are a leader in your community. Don't be afraid to speak out. You know when right is right and wrong is wrong. You know it. Hey, I want you to enter and win our Blackwater Bend Alaskan Mind Bender. Here's what you do. Simply text me your answer. Name an answer, if you would, please, and answer the following question. The number, 299-7653. 299-7653. If you're over in Kodiak, we've already got some messages from Kodiak, one up in Delta. We've got some from the Central Peninsula and Southern Peninsula. I want you to join them. 907-299-7653. Here's the question. Alaska, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, Washington, New Hampshire, Wyoming, and one other state have zero income tax. What's the other state? Nevada, Tennessee, or Georgia? Your name and answer. Text me 299-7653. And if you want to weigh in on any of this, feel free. Text me then too. Feel free. Stain. I can't tell you how many albums I've got by Stain. Actually, none. I can't tell you. Never heard of the band before, but suddenly this rock group, particularly the frontman and the leader, is being lauded as some kind of a hero for admonishing his fans. Now, what were his fans doing in this concert? They were, quote, molesting a 15-year-old girl who was crowd surfing. He said that the men touching her while she was crowd surfing, I repeat, crowd surfing, he went on to say they were touching her inappropriately and that he called them out. And I could literally play like 4 seconds of his tirade, about 4 seconds, and that would really just be the screaming fans that you'd be hearing. Nothing he said was something that can be repeated. But he was calling them out, and he even said they ought to be beat down. And if they did it again, he would point them out in the crowd, and he would call them out and beat them down. And basically just, it could end in jaws breaking, people getting stabbed. I mean, who knows what kind of melee could have ensued. And so I'm thinking about that this morning a lot. And I'm telling Tiffany, and I said, Tiffany, how is it? This guy's got full on, neck tattoos. I didn't know that he gets neck tattoos, but I'm just saying, this guy, and his band is called Stain. And he's suddenly being lauded by the conservative movement, the conservative media and blogs and radio hosts as being some sort of a hero because he's saying, and then he said, he kind of closed his little tirade with, all right, ladies, you can safely crowd surf now. No, you can't. You can't safely crowd surf. You're being touched. By virtue of crowd surfing, you're inviting touching. It's antithetical to being safe. It's the opposite of being not touched, is to crowd surf. I'm thinking too much, I believe. I was like delving into this too deeply, and Tiffany said, take a step back, Chris. Look at this from the bigger picture. And she's always one of my wisest advisors, if not the wisest advisor. And I said, well, what do you see? And she said, I see a country that is so afraid to speak out that when they see even one person doing it, and because this rocker could have just ignored it and gone on with the concert, and I'm sure many have. But when you see in America somebody willing to speak out and to speak up, it's shocking, and we put it up on a pedestal. And I was like, wow, you're so right. That is exactly what's going on with conservatives and whomever else is pushing Stain forward as being some sort of like, yeah, man. It's merely by virtue of the lack of the rest of us speaking up. In fact, New York City has a whole slogan that they've copywritten, which is called "See Something, Say Something," and it's all about keeping you safe from terrorism. You see somebody put a fuse at the end of a duffel bag in the subway and walk off away from it, say something. I mean, we are so crippled by virtue of the PC police, as Dr. Ben Carson, one of my personal heroes, would say, and we're so afraid of being called racist, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, misogynistic, whatever the word, pick a term. We're so afraid of our own shadows. We're afraid to speak up. It might hurt my business. I might be listened in on. People might, if I speak out against the anadromous streams ordinance, people might think that I'm against salmon. And a lot of my friends are salmon fishermen, and a lot of the people I know are biologists and ecologists, and I don't want to sound ignorant, and I don't want to offend anybody, so I'll just keep quiet and let the borough take 50 feet of my neighbor's property, not tell them, send them a thick booklet in the mail. And, I mean, and you shouldn't even be concerned about the cost of it.
Mr. Wolf first.
Mr. Mayor, I just point out in your budget, the Kenai River Center has 6 employees over there, and there's a budget of $758,000.
But I just point out to you that budget existed long before I became mayor.
That budget was here before I got here. God, really? Oh, yeah, I'm not afraid to speak up and say something, and neither is the leader of Stain. So does that make me a stain on society? Maybe. We're going to talk about the new medical examiner. I'm going to ask you your opinion on Mitch Seavey. I want to get the name right, make sure I'm saying it right. Is it Mitch? Yeah, Mitch Seavey had surgery on his finger in 2011. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this lawsuit and say, we Alaskans, what do you think about that? I'm going to take Mayor Mike Navarre a little bit further to task. I've got a few more clips and sound bites from the Homer City Council and the mayor. And I want to also talk to you about the body that was found in the Funny River fire. Boy, you couldn't make this stuff up, and neither will I here on what my mom calls the greatest show on earth. I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier, broadcasting live today from the headquarters of Story Productions, the nerve center of all things possible and prosperous, located here at the corner of West Hill and the Sterling Highway, discreetly tucked away inside the Story Real Estate Building. David Webb is your engineer and producer, back up at the mothership of KPEN FM 102. Find us online, AlaskaMattersRadio.com. AlaskaMattersRadio.com. You can send me a message from there. You can find me on Facebook, Chris Story or Chris Story on top of the world. Friend me, find me, like me. We'll have some fun together. And you can always send a text message during the program, 299-7653. 299-7653. Common sense cuts both ways. I wrote that headline, by the way. I always take Alaska Dispatch or ADN or any online publication and rewrite their headlines because I think it's a gift. and I'd be reluctant. It'd be wrong of me. It'd be wrong for me not to share my gift with you. And my gift is writing headlines. Common sense cuts both ways. Dispute over use of knife, Alaska Dispatch reports. In a phone interview, Mitch Seavey, winner of the race Iditarod in 2004 and 13, when he became the oldest champion at age 53, declined comment. Attorneys for Seavey and Kershaw Knife Company did not return phone calls. Well, Seavey filed a lawsuit 2 years ago alleging that the KAI Northside Hunter folding knife was defective because it closed on his finger while he was using the outside gut hook of the knife to slice a zip tie at a remote Ophir checkpoint. Is it Ophir? Ophir? O-P-H-I-R? I don't follow that enough to know that. About 350 miles from the Willow race start. Mitch Seavey had surgery to company. Okay, there was a YouTube video where he's describing how he was using the knife. And so here's what happened, essentially. If you could picture the lockback knife, towards the forward part, closer to the hinge of the knife, is a button to be depressed to release the knife blade. So if you were using it and there's a gut hook, if you know what that is, like picture a hook at the end of this knife that's got, a bit of a sharpened inside to this hook, this circle, open circle, and you could cut a rope, you would pull it towards you could cut twine, things of this nature, or a gut if you're a hunter and you're gutting out a moose. And so what he did, though, allegedly, or at least what I've read, is pull upwards on the hook, cutting through something, and then his thumb was then being pressed down on the little button, ergo allowing it to fold up on his hand. Well, I got to tell you something here. I've been cut a lot. I've seen a lot of cheap knives. By the way, this was apparently picked up at Sportsman's Warehouse. It's about a $20 item. He'd had it since 2009. I put full blame on, 2008, on the user. Sorry. I mean, I call it like I see it. I think it's a nice family. I think they've done a lot of good for the race and Alaska in general. Fine. But this is ridiculous. To me, and I'm speaking for myself exclusively here, this is not what America is based on. I would be so embarrassed to have brought this suit. I'd be so embarrassed of how I was using the knife, the tool, misusing the tool. I got hit in the head by a handyman jack handle one time. We were misusing the tool. Now, it was allowed to spring up and hit me in the head. And a lot of you are saying, that's what happened. I get it now. I get it. No, I didn't sue anybody. It was like operator error. Yes, I would like to see some sort of protection on that jack from the handle being able to flip up and hit you. Well, don't use it. You know what? I've never, ever, ever used it the same way again. I still have a scar on my head. I was 18 years old. But is that what we've come to? Honestly, ask yourself that. Would you have sued? Is this how you picture Alaskans handling issues or solving problems and disputes? I just don't get it. I mean, does he bear any responsibility for using the knife incorrectly? And you've owned it for 4 or 5 years. Don't tell me you don't know how it operates. Sorry, this one, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your take. Text me 299-7653 or email alaskamattersradio@gmail.com, alaskamattersradio@gmail.com, or text me your thoughts on this case, 299-7653. Am I right or wrong in your opinion? I know I'm right, but in your opinion, do you agree with me or disagree? Would you have brought a suit? Now, here's what I can see. I can see using the bully pulpit of a 2-time Iditarod champion. I can see using the bully pulpit of a spokesperson. I can see using the bully pulpit of somebody that's somewhat famous, like he is as an Iditarod winner, to go out and make a public campaign against this kind of product or against the design or a warning. Go on social media, go on the internets and the tubes and fill them up with warnings, and even approach Kershaw and say, guess what? This happened to me. I don't ever want to see this happen to anybody else. Why don't you and I team up, design a Mitch Seavey Iditarod special, and we're going to design a knife that nobody else, and I now, one finger missing, 1-digit finger, the nose picker gone. I will go out and be your spokesperson for the safety and the ingenuity of this knife. You're going to pay me a royalty on every knife that's sold, or you're going to pay me for a spokesperson fee every time I go out and speak about this knife or do public appearances at Sportsman's Warehouses or wherever. Pick a company. That's where you bought it. And turn this into something that's profitable for both parties and actually might prevent somebody from doing this in the future. But to turn to your attorneys and go after this company, my opinion, my never to be humble opinion, that was not what I think about when I think about Alaskans. Nope. I sure don't. And I asked you on Facebook what you thought. A couple people last time I checked had weighed in and said, what about when I slip and fall on a neighbor's driveway? And another person said, should I sue Ford Motor Company because the door slammed on my hand and smashed my thumb? And to which I say, yeah, kind of what I was thinking. What do you think? Text me, 299-7653, 299-7653. Again, this is not a personal attack on him. He's probably a great guy, probably well-deserving of all the races he's won, all the money and accolades. That tact I found disconcerting. I just don't understand why we go there first. I do not understand that. I'd like to see us resolve problems outside of the courtroom, and that's why if I ran for Homer mayor, why I'd never allow ever again a manager or anybody in my control to ever say, sue us. Nope, never would. Napa Auto Parts, I want to thank Kevin and Courtney Kyle. They're celebrating 10 years of ownership of your Alaskan headquarters for superior car products, parts, and service. May I underline superior service. Other national stores will come and will go. Your locally owned Napa Auto Parts store in Homer, Alaska is here to stay. Napa Auto Parts in Homer is where your neighbors shop. Napa Auto Parts in Homer is where Alaskans shop. Napa Auto Parts in Homer is where you shop. Kevin and the entire crew at Napa Auto Parts in Homer have been there and with you for 10 years, and we'll be there with you for the next 10 and longer. In Alaska, in Homer, Alaska, Alaskans know where to go, and that's Napa Auto Parts in Homer on Main Street and the Highway. Shop locally owned for the best prices, best parts, and guaranteed best service. Thank you, Kevin and crew at Napa Auto Parts in Homer, Alaska. How many have we got so far here on the Blackwater Bend Espresso Alaskan Mind Bender? By the way, I got a question during the break. Bender Blender. It's a Bender Blender. That is the greatest drink on earth. It's a mixture of coffee and ice cream. And that's what I maybe said blender bender, but really it's a Bender Blender. Bender Blender. I'll say it slowly. And I'll invite you one more time. We've got a lot to pick from. I want you to enter to win, though. I feel like you're holding back. Don't. Do not hold back. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. That's right. Answer this question by sending a text message and your name to 299-7653. Alaska, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, Washington, New Hampshire, Wyoming, and one other state have no income taxes. Is that other state Nevada, Tennessee, or Georgia? I'm Chris Story. More to come right here on Alaska Matters Radio. I'm Chris Story. You're listening to What My Mom Calls the greatest show on earth, Alaska Matters Radio, every single Tuesday at 12:30 to 1:30. David Webb is your engineer and producer. Back up at the mothership of KPEN 102 FM. You'll find us online, AlaskaMattersRadio.com. AlaskaMattersRadio.com. If you want to weigh in anytime during the program, you can always send me a text at 299-7653. New medical examiner has a sordid past. Are there some things that you can never overcome? I don't think so. You may have heard about this. Now, Alaska and the Parnell administration have hired as our chief medical examiner a gentleman that has a past that is less than savory. He had a prescription problem. He was actually prescribing himself medication, and he was taken in conjunction with over-the-counter cold medicine and alcohol. And rehabilitation, I think actually incarceration at one point, and then he came back from that and is okay, which is great. I'm glad for him, and I think it's a neat story of overcoming the obstacles of life. The question is, if you're an airline pilot and you go through some real, say, mental illnesses and depressions and suicide attempts and so forth, should you ever be allowed to fly a passenger plane again? Or let's try this one, Joe Hazelwood, bringing it closer to home. Joe Hazelwood, would you want to see now that he's done his time at Beans Cafe and maybe is no longer using alcohol and so forth, time to get him back behind a tanker coming out of Puerto Valdez? I don't know. I mean, and then that's the question that begs to be asked is there a shortage of medical examiners around the country such that we hire someone who may, and I underline may, not will or should, but may actually cause the overturning of a case based on a defense attorney's wise use of a past that this medical examiner has. I mean, Quincy maybe even had his own stuff that he overcame. And I believe all about redemption, but I think that a book could be written, a blog, radio work, interviews inspiring others about how you overcame your problem and so forth. I'm not so sure that chief medical examiner ought to be the job with which this gentleman's given. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I really, again, all for redemption, all about overcoming the obstacles. I've overcome my own. And, please, it's just, this is human nature. And what an inspiring story. But are we running out of medical examiners? Anchor Point Natural Foods, a proud sponsor of Alaska Matters Radio. Why support Alaskan food producers? This is real. This is content. This isn't just a spokesperson here. This is real stuff. Here you go. Number one, local food is fresher, always, and fresher products are better for you. Number two, reduced cost and less environmental impact. Local food doesn't have to travel as far, resulting in less shipping costs, and many times resulting in a better price for you that you'll pay for the food, less pollution, less fuels used in transporting the food. Number three, stronger, and I love this one, stronger local economy. Right there. The money stays here. It's made here, stays here. Food security. By supporting local farmers, you are helping to ensure that there will be farms in your community, considering the distance that our food travels to get to Alaska and the possible logistic issues, food shortages, local disasters, fires, floods, road closures, etc. If it can provide any peace of mind, knowing that your food can be produced locally? It ought to. And you ought to support available local foods. You can go to Anchor Point Natural Foods, for example. Tara and Len are constantly bringing in locally produced foods here locally at Anchor Point Natural Foods, online, apnaturalfoods.com, apnaturalfoods.com, 399-7900. They're on the corner of the Sterling Highway and right across from Pioneer, right next to the Pho and Thai restaurant. Pho and Thai restaurant, as my mother would say, but you and I both know it's Thai. She loves when I do that. I'm all about online learning these days. Loving online learning. And you know what else I'm doing? I'm asking myself, what am I capable of? So, right, I mean, we already know I'm not capable to run for mayor, because if I did run for mayor, I'd ask you not to vote for me. Unless you want different, right? But what are you capable of? So I was a drummer back in the day, and I was never a good drummer. It's like I ski. It doesn't mean I'm a good skier, and I'm not an Olympic skier. Get off my back. So I played the drums. I wasn't any good at it, but I enjoyed it. And I haven't played literally, or I should say seriously played, in 20 years. I hadn't done pottery in 10 years. I took a class. And I thought, man, look at how this brought me back to life. Taking that pottery class literally brought me and the creative juices within me to a place that I didn't know I could go. I honestly didn't. And wait till you see the new work I'm producing. Oh, man, I got a couple pieces on Facebook. Oh, this new... Stop it before I cut my own ear off. Or you cut yours off just not to hear any more of it. But it made me ask, what else could I do? And so I called up my friend Ash Moore down at the Harvard School of Music. And I said, Ash, can I come in and play the drums with you one day? And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so I did last Friday. I'm going to play again this Friday. And I'm 99.9999% sure I'm going to be signing up for an 8-week course with Ash. Just love it. And so I'm asking you, what are you capable of? Have you ever heard of CreativeLive.com? CreativeLive.com. Great website. Tiffany's going to be taking a course in photography on, it's like June 12th, I think it is. It's free. Free. What are you capable of? Begs the question. I had a conversation. I was having a meeting with Dave McCormick with GTL Web Designs. Online at gtldesigns.com. No, not everything in my life is a commercial. Stop it. Dave's just a friend. And anyway, so we're there, and we're having this meeting. We're revamping Alaska Matters Radio, the website. We're going to be revamping it. In fact, because we've got Alaska Matters Radio, we've got On Top of the World Radio, we've got the Alaska Real Estate Podcast, we've got Radio Realty, and one other property that I'm working on. And I'm going to keep it under wraps for the moment, but I'm excited about it, and I'll tell you about it as we can release more information. But that said, I said to Dave McCormick, I said, Dave, I think it's time to bring all of these properties, if you will, or all of these shows and things under one roof. Okay, just under one roof. And by roof, I mean website. And so anyway, we're having this meeting. I get up. I had to run to a closing. And I get up from the meeting. Dave stays there, and I go past a table where there's a gentleman that I know. And he says, Chris, how come I'm not seeing your name in the hat to be a commissioner for Home Rule? And it led to an interesting conversation. And I'll tell you about that interesting conversation when we return here to Alaska Matters Radio. I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier, broadcasting live today from the corner of West Hill and the Sterling Highway, the home of the Story team, Story Production, Story Real Estate, Story Properties, and all things, any story you want to hear. David Webb, back up at the mothership of KPEN, is engineering and producing this program. And Blackwater Bend Espresso makes it possible in part. And I want to say thank you to... Oh, you know what? Dagnabbit. I should have done it during the break. I've got something I can play in a minute, and that'll buy me a little time to tell you who the winner is. But I want to say thank you to Pat and Kate and all of the wonderful ladies and people at Blackwater Bend Espresso. That's right. I'll distract you. Well, don't look at the man behind the curtain while I select the winner. All right. I was talking about a conversation I had with a friend, and I've known this guy for a long, long time. He said, Chris, how come I don't see your name in the hat? You know, here in Homer, we're petitioning potentially to be a home rule city. No longer a first-class city, but a home rule city. And I said, look, my whole thing with home rule from the very beginning has been, and will remain to be, strong mayor or no from me. That's it, period. Now, that led to an interesting conversation about whether or not you trust yourself in authority. Do you trust yourself in leadership? And I do. I trust you, and I trust me. I got a text a moment ago from a friend, Tom, who said, did I hear you say you're running for mayor? And no, you did not hear me say I'm running for mayor. But I did say, if I did, don't vote for me. Because I trust you, and I trust me. I believe, and I've said this for a long time, I have what it takes to be a leader and even be president if need be, which is why I never doubted for a moment that Sarah Palin had the capacity with which to become the vice president. Give me a break. Have you seen or heard Joe Biden? Give me a break. Leadership and the ability to make decisions is what's needed in your community right now. I'm going to speak specifically to you in Homer, but those of you in the outlying areas, those of you in the metropolis of Soldotna or Nikiski, anywhere else, you can lead. I trust you. I really do. So my friend says, well, Chris, we need a professional manager. I'm sorry. We have a, quote, professional manager right now, and what we need is leadership. And he said, well, in a town of 4,000, he actually said 3,000, but we have closer to 4,000 in the city limits, Homer proper. You won't find enough people to be a strong mayor with the qualifications. Au contraire. If Chris Story gets what he's looking for in the years ahead, we're going to have one of two things. We're going to have strong rule from me, or we're going to have home rule with strong mayor form of government. I'm not looking for the money. I'm not looking for the job. I'm looking for strong leadership, period. End of story. And basically, if the charter members and the commissioners produce a document for home rule in Homer, Alaska, the charter, the constitution by which we will govern ourselves, and we're choosing this, and it doesn't include a plank that says Homer shall be a strong mayor form of government, I won't support it. In fact, I'll do the opposite and rally against it. For whatever it's worth. Might only get 2 other people to join me. It doesn't matter. I won't support a home rule charter that doesn't include a plank that says strong mayor. Period. And I've said that from the very beginning, so I don't feel guilty about collecting signatures to put this on the ballot that then was approved to begin this process. Or it wasn't on the ballot yet, but I mean to get enough signatures to begin this process. No, I don't feel guilty about that. I've said it from the beginning. And here's the thing. We have a current city manager's salary and Benny package is right around $180,000 a year. Do you know how I know that? I had to pay for that information. I had to pay for that information because the manager who's leading my community didn't have the intestinal fortitude to call me back. Or you might say respect. Why should he? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. I want a strong mayor that I can reach out and touch. I can reach out and vote for, campaign against, or campaign for, or run for their job if I want to put them out of office and be in control of the city and lead. See, we have a leadership, we have a form of leadership that allows for a divisive political position without answering to the public. That's strong manager form of government. I've heard it numerous times. Well, we need a professional. I'm sorry. How many council meetings have you heard, or you heard me play clips from, where this is, and I quote from the city manager, Carrie, do you want to answer this? And he gets department heads up there. I'm sorry. This is what we've got. We've got a finance director. We have a public works director. We've got harbor master, does a fantastic job. Get out of his way. We've got people in authority and people in positions that are professional, and what we're lacking is leadership. That's where the dearth is at. The dearth is in leadership. Now, here's my proposal to you, and this would be long after I'm mayor. Let's offer our strong mayor going forward a total package to include salary, benefits, and whatever we're going to offer them, $125,000 a year. Right now, we're spending $180,000. And I've asked a question publicly and in op-ed pieces in the papers before, what's it really costing us in trust, lack of trust? So we've settled some cases with homeowners that got sewer in their homes. Why did it take over a year? Why did it take lawsuits? Why did it take litigation? Where was the leadership? $180,000 a year, what's the real cost? I'm telling you, if you put a package together, $125,000 the total cost to the community, 3-year term, 2-term limit, you will see a real election cycle every single time. Leaders abound in our community. I trust you. You can lead. Without strong mayor, home rule is a waste of time. Blackwater Bend Espresso, let me just say thank you real quick, like to everybody who participated. And let's see, I said 2. There's a lot of pressure on me right now. Let's do something to help take off that pressure. There. All right, Gary and Ralph. Gary and Ralph, you're both winners of our Blackwater Bend Espresso Alaskan Mindbender contest.
You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down.
No, I won't back down. That's inspiring. I love Johnny Cash's latest stuff, the last stuff he did before he passed. Just terrific stuff. So the state that they knew also has no income taxes, Nevada. And how do we survive? How do people survive without tax? I'm telling you something, folks. We're going to see a real revolution. You might have heard my interview with Luis Palau. It's at AlaskaMattersRadio.com, AlaskaMattersRadio.com. He mentioned in the interview, not to, spoiler alert, he mentioned that there's a spiritual awakening. There is an underpinning, there's a groundswell of a spiritual awakening. He sees this. He travels the world, he travels the country. He said in America, it's going to burst onto the scene like a missile or torpedo coming from a submarine emerging out of the water. And we are going to go, hey, where did this come from? I'm telling you, I see a political movement. Tea Party members see a constitutional founding movement. People in every walk of life are beginning to see something. And I believe I can characterize it in one word, and it's called integrity. We are beginning to see an integrity. We're beginning to see something come alive in all walks of life, backed by a spiritual movement that will not be stopped. If I run for mayor, do not vote for Chris Story. Do you hear me? Do not vote for Chris Story, mayor, Homer, Alaska. Do you hear me? Don't do it. Do not do it. It'd be a big mistake. It'd be a huge mistake, actually. We're talking about change. You think I'd sit back as mayor of Homer? You think I'd sit back and just go, there's sewer in your home, but it's God's fault. Alaska matters, and so do you.